The crackle of the radio began again. Sí, aquí el Santiago-san. ¿Qué hace y podrán haberse matado? Bindi asked. So what language is that? The others shrugged. Caitlin looked like she was about to scream in frustration. What are we going to do now? Andy had been concentrating on keeping his nausea at bay, but now he mumbled something. What did you say, Andy? Asked Bindi. Andy took a deep breath. I said I think we should speak to him in Spanish. Despite his fragile state, Andy's surprise announcement got him crash tackled in a segment by Caitlin and Bindi. Bindi laughed. Of course it would be Spanish. Santiago is the capital city of Chile, and they speak Spanish in Chile. Why didn't I think of that? Andy looked over at his sister with an eyebrow raised. Well, Caitlin actually studies Spanish with me, so there is really no good reason why she didn't know he was speaking Spanish, he replied. Bindi quickly intervened. No time to argue, twins, she said. Andy, please speak to him. Andy took a deep breath to steady himself and then went over to the radio. Santiago, ¿me recibe? Sí. ¿Quién son y qué quieren? Andy's sickness seemed to vanish. He understood that. He said, Who are you and what do you want? He looked so pleased with himself he seemed to forget that urgency of the situation. Bindi and Caitlin both shouted, Tell him about the oil spill. Oh right, yes, of course. After telling the master of the Santiago-san, he lied to buy some cooking oil and a bus timetable. He was nervous. Sometimes the wrong words just come out. He quickly corrected himself and stumbled his way through an explanation of what had happened. The ship's master had no idea about the oil spill and had noticed how close he'd come to a collision with the fishing trawler earlier. He mentioned he was running behind schedule because of bad weather in Indonesia. Then he muttered the word cyclone. Caitlin looked panicked. She might not have been as good as her brother at Spanish, but she instinctively recognized the word cyclone. The master promised he'd get someone to check the hull immediately for signs of crack. When Andy finished translating the conversation, the four congratulated him on his success. Andy, you're a trooper. What would we have done without you? Captain Washington asked. Jake looked around at the oil that was steadily coating a wider area around the Santiago-san. Now that the ship had slowed somewhat because of its size, the container ship would continue moving for another half hour before it could stop completely. Better update the Coast Guard on the situation. They'll send out rescue crews and spotter planes. No one knows how long Santiago-san have been lifting oil. They'll need to find out how much oil is out there and how much of the coastline may be affected. While Captain Washington radioed through the Coast Guard, Caitlin asked Jake something that had been bothering her. What would have caused a ship like that to spring an oil spill in the first place? It looks pretty sturdy. Jake thought for a moment. Well, judging by the number of containers on the ship, they could have lost one overboard and not noticed. If it hit the hull on the way down, it could have cracked it. Could be a number of things, though. What I do know for sure is that The Maritime Authority will want to check Santiago-San thoroughly before it lets her travel any further south.